Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday morning, September the 10th. This is actually right around the climatological peak of the Atlantic Basin tropical season, and indeed we have a strong tropical storm to monitor for the next couple of days. Francine has currently maximum sustained winds of 65 miles per hour, on the verge of becoming a hurricane. Looks like it will strengthen into hurricane status later today and likely move to a position right near the central coastline of Louisiana as a strong Category 1 or perhaps even a Category 2 hurricane later tomorrow into tomorrow night. After that, it moves northward as it slowly weakens, ending up by the Tennessee Valley or the Midwest by the end of the work week or the early part of the upcoming weekend. It kind of grinds to a halt in that location because of a very strong high pressure ridging to its north and east by the latter part of this week and the upcoming weekend. Here's the latest infrared satellite imagery loop. This is from the College of DuPage weather website. A couple things I want to point out here. First of all, let's orient ourselves here. This is the Texas coastline right here, and then Louisiana coastline right here. So this is a close-up of the western Gulf of Mexico. This is the Mexico coastline right here. This is the area to watch. This is kind of the low-level circulation center right now. You can see it's kind of disjointed in a sense with a large area of convection or thunderstorms off to the north and east, kind of separated to the north and east. But this is the area of interest. Very slow moving system over the past 24 hours, and it will continue to be a slow mover over the next 12 to 24 hours or so, only moving right now northward at around 5 miles per hour. This is sitting on top of some very, very warm waters of the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. Yesterday we showed the actual sea surface temperatures around 87, 88 degrees right in this part of the Gulf of Mexico. Some of the warmest waters anywhere seen right now in the Atlantic Basin. That's why this is a very, very favorable location for the development or intensification of tropical systems this time of the year. So again, this is the area to watch. It will tend to widen in coverage over the next several hours, this area of thunderstorms right here in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. Again, it should strengthen into hurricane status later today and then approach the central, most likely the central Louisiana coastline later tomorrow into tomorrow evening, either as a strong Category 1 or perhaps even a Category 2 hurricane. Well, let's show the National Hurricane official storm track here. I certainly agree with the general sentiment shown here by the forecasters at the National Hurricane Center. Right now, again, it's spinning over here, the low-level circulation right here in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico over some very warm water. Should become a hurricane later today. It doesn't have far to go. It's already maximum sustained winds 65 miles per hour, 75 miles per hour. Will make it a Category 1 hurricane, and then continues to move to the north and east and likely approaches the central coastline of Louisiana later tomorrow, certainly Wednesday PM hours, afternoon or evening, again as a strong Category 1 or perhaps even a Category 2 hurricane upon landfall late tomorrow in central Louisiana. Then it slowly weakens as it pushes generally in a northerly direction over the Mississippi River Valley region right here. This is the Mississippi the Mississippi River right here, and it ends up over the Tennessee Valley, the Midwest by the time we get to the early part of the upcoming weekend. And that moisture field associated with the remnants of Francine kind of grinds to a halt in its northward progression right in this area here. And we'll see in a minute as to the reason why. Very, very strong upper level ridging over the southeastern part of Canada will kind of inhibit any further advancement to the north, and it certainly looks like this moisture field will not make it into the northeastern part of the nation, at least not this weekend. There's a slight chance that this ends up helping to form a system along the southeast U.S. coastline by early next week. We'll talk about that in a moment, but for the time being, it grinds to a halt over the western Tennessee Valley. Well, let's walk through the Canadian model run. I think, again, this particular model has a good handle on this tropical situation here. By the way, this is reflected here at 500 millibars right here as we begin the day here on Tuesday, September the 10th. Again, this is the climatological peak in some observations, empirical observations from the past. September 10th is actually the peak time period for the Atlantic Basin tropical season. But notice here, strong upper level ridge shown in orange here. What we're looking at are 500 millibar height anomaly forecast maps here. Now let's move forward here, and here comes the reflection of Francine at the surface by early tomorrow, sitting just south of central Louisiana. Then it makes landfall likely over the central Louisiana coastline, coming in from the southwest to the northeast. So it'll be a southwesterly from the southwest moving to the northeast, and that's important. The movement and the direction quite important in terms of storm surge. So again, it'll be a southwest to northeast moving system right towards the Louisiana coastline. And we'll go out the central Louisiana coastline, go out a few days here and into the end of the work week. This is Friday, and here is the reflection of 500 millibars. And look at this strong ridging. This is very, very anomalously strong upper level ridging centered over the Hudson Bay region of Canada by the end of the work week. This is on Friday here. So this has been moving north from Thursday through Friday, but then that northward progression will kind of grind to a halt, as we see right here over the Midwest, thanks in large part to this very, very strong upper level ridge over the Hudson Bay region of Canada. Now, the Canadian model takes some of this energy and ends up seemingly sending some of that energy to just off the Carolina coastline by the end of the upcoming week and the early part of next week. We'll see if this actually holds true, that there could be kind of a reflection of Tropical Storm Francine, which will become a hurricane somewhere over the Carolina coastline early next week. That's speculation phase. What we know for certain is, not for certain, but we have a good feel for, is that it moves over the central Louisiana coastline, then northward, right over the Mississippi River, into the western part of the Tennessee Valley, maybe as far north as the Midwest by the upcoming weekend. We'll go out a little bit farther in time and see that the Canadian model ends up kind of joining forces with an upper level trough over the eastern part of the nation by the middle part of next week. Kind of an interesting scenario. One thing I can also say with pretty high certainty, this is not the last tropical system that we'll be dealing with. Looks like an overall a much more active weather pattern going forward through the latter part of September into October. And by active weather pattern, I mean active in the tropical scene here. Now, let's take a look at the surface weather maps. Again, using the 0Z run of the Canadian model. Strong high pressure continues to dominate the scene in the Mid-Atlantic region. A very, very dry week in the Mid-Atlantic region, and this comes after several dry weeks in the Mid-Atlantic region. That's kind of why I'm kind of emphasizing, will that moisture field make it all the way into the northeastern states by the end of the week? No chance with that upper level ridge parked over the southeastern part of Canada. Here is the location of Francine. Again, maximum sustained winds right now, the latest observation, 65 miles per hour, on the verge of becoming a hurricane. We'll move forward here, and it kind of intensifies and starts to accelerate a little bit. By the time we get to early tomorrow, it's moving again from southwest to northeast, right towards the central Louisiana coastline. Of course, all residents along the Texas coastline and all the way to the Mississippi coastline monitor this situation closely. The worst appears to be headed for Louisiana, the worst weather conditions. And here we go by the latter part of Wednesday, 987 millibar low on this particular model run. Again, likely a strong Category 1, maybe even a Category 2 a hurricane at landfall right over the central Louisiana coastline later tomorrow. We're talking later in the afternoon or perhaps into the evening hours here. High pressure still hanging on over the northeastern part of the nation here. Now, we move forward here. It slowly weakens as typical. Once it moves over land, it'll weaken from a hurricane to tropical storm and then tropical depression status here. A lot of rainfall, though, is headed up into Arkansas and western Tennessee and right over the Mississippi River, right here into the Tennessee Valley during the day on Thursday. And then again, that moisture field looks like it's going north all the way into the Great Lakes, but it tends to grind to a halt right here by the time we get to midday on Friday. Here is the location of the remnants of Francine on Friday. Again, keep in mind we have this very, very strong high pressure sitting right in this part of Canada here, and that is kind of acting as a wall, as a barrier for this moisture to move to the north and east. And but the Canadian model doesn't make it totally disappear at this time. Notice there's kind of a fetch of tropical moisture feeding into the system from the Atlantic Ocean, and the Canadian model tends to grind it to a halt here. Then in many similar cases in the wintertime, we get a transfer of energy to the coast. Something starts to form here, according to this particular model run, right here off the Carolina coastline by the latter part of the upcoming weekend. Happens to be the Sunday evening forecast map. This is speculation. This is, I would not say this is high certainty that this happens, but it is on the table. That's why I wanted to present this as a possibility here, something to monitor later in the weekend into next week. And if indeed this does form, it could end up bringing a lot of moisture, no doubt, a lot of moisture up into the mid-Atlantic region and the northeast U.S. We're talking about a week from right now. So we'll see how this all plays out. And certainly something we'll monitor not only the next few days, but the next 7 to 8 days or so with respect to all this tropical moisture. Again, it looks like Francine becomes a hurricane later today. Probably makes landfall as a strong Category 1 or even a Category 2 hurricane along the central Louisiana coastline later tomorrow night. Then the remnants will move right over the Mississippi River into western Tennessee Valley, maybe the Midwest, by the end of the work week, early part of the upcoming weekend. And after that, we'll just have to wait and see what develops along the eastern seaboard. But the key player in all of this is that very, very strong high pressure ridging aloft over the southeastern part of Canada for the next several days. That's it for now. This has been meteorologist Paul Dorian from arcfieldweather.com.